So you mentioned it's almost, gosh, it's almost like you're seeing my questions, even though I know you're not, because you went exactly where I wanted to go next, which was you left for a short while, and you went to the crosstown rivals, the folks down at EA, and you worked on NBA Live. I'm sort of curious, if, maybe without getting too personal necessarily, but why? What made you want to? You've been at 2K for a while. What made you want to try something else?
Yeah. Well, I'd only been at 2K for 2 years.
So
I was there for 2K7 and 2K8 basically.
Okay.
I got there at the end of 2K6.
Yeah.
But 7 and 8 were under my belt at that point, and I don't know. I think I hit kind of a rookie wall. I had never been at any company for longer than 2 years, really up until that point, and so I was kind of in this position of like, I wonder what else is out there, and just naively thinking. Actually, here's my twisted thinking.
Do it.
Twisted thinking was, I was looking at where NBA Live was, and I felt like they were behind us in a lot of ways, and I was like, but also like I was looking at my own team and like, there's some things that I wish we would do differently, or we could be different in some ways, and so 2K8 for me was kind of a tougher year, because 7 was exciting for me. I was there's a lot of things that I was really excited that we were doing, and then 2K8 was a little more of a struggle, and I was like, my twisted thinking was, if I could go to EA and I could shore up gameplay, then maybe there'd be like this really heated rivalry between 2K and Live again, and then it would push the basketball genre forward.
Wow, you're like an evil mastermind of basketball, but with a good heart. That's so cool.
That's what I was thinking.
I love that you admitted that. I mean, not that you admit that like it's a bad thing, but that's cool.
That's what I was thinking, that I could kind of push basketball forward if I just kind of helped the other team almost,
Well, you did. I mean, you might not say it, but I'm allowed to say it because I'm a critic and that's what I do. Live 10 was regarded as the best live in many years because I was playing the games at that point. So then you went back. You did go back to. So do they? Not that they were necessarily dying without you in a sense, but like. Do they back up the Brinks truck and say, Mike, we got to have you back, man. We miss you, or is it?
No.
What's the comeback story?
2K was fine without me. I'm gonna put it right there. Wow. So the unfiltered version. I can't give you the completely unfiltered version, but so Live 10 was a good year. When I went to EA, I immediately regretted it, to be honest,
really?
When I first went there, because I had gotten so accustomed to how we did things at Visual Concepts.
Yeah.
And I loved the way we made games there. And so when I got to EA, for me, it was like almost like this shock of a new way to make games, and I didn't like it. And it's not,
nothing against them.
Nothing against them. It's just for me, it didn't fit. Like the way they made games just didn't fit. And so I tried to make the best of it. And one thing that helped was after NBA Live 09 shipped, Sean O'Brien took over the reins as the line producer of NBA Live, and he's one guy that I really saw eye to eye with.
He's running the show now.
Yeah, he's running the show, and he's telling me, Mike, you have you have full reign to just do what you want to do with gameplay, and let's just bring Live back. And so for me, Live 10 was that year where I tried to shift the culture of the EA way a little bit more toward what I was used to, and I think, like you said, I think it worked. I think we made some good strides that year. But still at the heart of it, I kind of missed 2K. I missed like the way we did things.
Yeah.
And the way it went down was at the end of Live 10, I think the executive team at EA was like, we need to do something different or make bigger changes to really make this a race between 2K and Live again. And so we got this announcement that Sean was leaving the team, so he was getting moved to another position. And I was like, oh, well, so that was the first red flag for me. I was like, because Sean was my guy. He's the guy that we just connected well, and we were on the same page with games. And so he was leaving, and they were bringing some new leadership in. I was like, okay, that's kind of, I don't know, I wasn't too happy about it at the time, but let's see where this goes.
Sure.
So I met with them a little bit, and they're like, well, here's some things we want to try with the game. And I was like, then it was just red flags all over for me. Just like, I don't think these are good. I just completely disagreed with the direction that they wanted to go. So for me, it was like, okay, I had a choice to make. I can stick this out, try to kind of fight against what I think these guys are doing wrong, or I could, run my tail between my legs and go back to VC. And so I contacted Greg Thomas, and I basically said, I'm sorry I left, and if you want to, bring me back, I'll do my best to make it, a good decision for you. So he very graciously took me back, and that was that.
That takes a lot of humility and courage, I think, to probably make that call, right? If you were the one, if they're not, if it's coming from you as opposed to them begging to have you back, if you're trying to go back,
yeah.
I mean that's got to be not an easy thing to do.
It wasn't, and I think it made it worse just the way I left. Probably my biggest regret in my career is the way I left BC, because I didn't really give them a chance to change the things that I thought would happen, or it's kind of just I was very non-confrontational at the time, and so I didn't really even tell anyone that I was leaving. I just kind of I just randomly said, I'm putting my 2 weeks in and I'm going to leave. Didn't tell anyone anything, So it's probably the biggest regret I have, is how I left. And so for Greg to, take me back in, for me it was like prodigal son returning, and these last 9-10 years for me have been all about, I'm going to make sure you will never regret this decision. So I've kind of worked every day with that kind of mentality of, I need to pay back this debt that I've created, or whatever, And also kind of upset with EA for what they did to me there too. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try and bury you guys now, because we moved our family.
Buried themselves.
We moved our family up to Vancouver, just all these changes, So
yeah.
It wasn't a tough decision at all. It was I really wanted to go back.
Yeah.
Maybe a tougher decision for Greg and Jeff to bring me back, but I'm glad they did, and I think it worked out.
So it's clear what you learned about yourself during that time of going to EA and coming back. What did you learn about making the game, and what did you learn professionally that at EA, either good or bad, that maybe has served you in your second stint now?
Probably different ways of managing people. I think that was something that was very different over at EA than it is at Visual Concepts, and good ways and good ways and bad ways. So for me, looking back on the whole EA experience, I wouldn't say I regret going, just because I think I grew a lot professionally and as a person from going there. And I met a lot of great people. I mean, the guys on the NBA Live team, a lot of the guys I worked with were just amazing. And met some great friends outside of work as well. And so the Vancouver experience for me was something I don't know if I don't know. It's a tough thing to think if I would do it again. But yeah, just learning how to manage people differently, just different practices in terms of game development that were good and bad at EA. I think I've tried to adopt the good ones and reject the bad ones, and kind of mix what Visual Concepts does well and what EA does well, and try to make that kind of the way we run gameplay. Yeah,
that professional story in your life kind of reminds me, I got divorced in my 20s when I married young, divorced, and it's it was the worst experience I've ever had. It was the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my life, but I actually wouldn't take it back because I learned so much about myself. So that's kind of, your story reminds me of that. That you seem like you're better off as a, certainly professionally and maybe even personally as well, for having gone over and seen the other side and sort of had that different perspective on your career.
Yeah, it was definitely a grass is greener moment for me going to EA.
Yeah.
And just I matured a lot, I think, out of that whole thing. And I look back on what happened through it. I don't know what the basketball gaming landscape would look like if I never left. Maybe it would be. I'm sure it'd be different. I don't know how if it'd be different in a good way or a bad way.
Yeah.
But it would be different. And another thing that going to EA is I met some really good guys, and even two of the guys I worked closest with, Ben Hester and Eric Perrier, they ended up coming over to Visual Concepts a couple years after I left. And they've made a huge impact on NBA 2K. So NBA 2K has also just by their presence has grown by leaps and bounds in different ways too.
Yeah.
So there's, it's interesting, how things went down. But at the end of the day, where we are now and where NBA 2K is now, I think I can't say I'd change anything.
Is there a rivalry, would you say, or is that more of kind of a fan thing because there are two simulation NBA basketball games?
I think it's more of a fan thing.
Yeah.
I think we've we've never really, I mean, we'll look at what they're doing, and I'm sure they're looking at what we're doing, but I don't think we ever really, when I was at EA, it was more of it. It was more of like a, how can we take down, how can we take down 2K, and, you know, what do you know about 2K? And I would never say anything, like, well, here's how you take 2K down. I never, because that was, my mindset was, let's push the basketball genre forward, let's have a healthy rivalry, right? That was my thinking. So I've never thought that. I've never thought like, I want to be like the lone NBA basketball game and bury all the competitors, because
that wouldn't be any fun, would it?
I don't know. For me, it wouldn't be as much fun.
I mean, it sounds like you're not taking any gross, you know, grandstanding over their, you know, the big struggles when they were gone for a couple of years. That, or were you? Were you kind of running around going, "We did it! We buried them"? Like what?
I don't know.
What was that period
the first
like?
Year, I'll say the first year was a little satisfying. At least for me, it validated that I made the right decision.
Personally,
because like, well, if I had stayed, what would have happened? You know, would Elite have shipped? I don't know. Maybe not. But I mean,
it did ship. I reviewed it for OXM, and then they pulled it like
unshipped
last second. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure.
I mean, I guess as developers, you probably got to feel for them a little bit when like the demo comes out and the whole Bynum T-pose thing turns into like that. That's professionally, I'm sure you're like you just feel for them at that point when something gets twisted off into this. Monstrous thing.
It changed. You know, some guys have a very killer mentality where they're like they want to step on EA's throat, and there's that rivalry there. But a lot of us are like, especially for me. I mean, I knew those guys.
Yeah.
They were my ex-teammates.
Right.
And I knew what they went through with that year, and I was like, I felt bad. It was just a bad year for them, a lot of guys, and so I was kind of like, I was happy, but I wasn't happy at the same time.
5-on-5 pickup game down at the YMCA. Five Visual Concepts guys. 5 live guys. Who wins?
Well, we'd win for sure. For now, there were some really good runs at EA though.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, not surprisingly, but it's a big company, and so there were a lot of non-NBA guys who played pickup hoops.
Yeah.
Like guys from like FIFA and hockey and stuff. They were playing, and so it would have been a good matchup. But we have. 2K basketball, I think some of our best players we're just getting old. I say I'm part of that. I'm old, so I think we'd get squashed now. But
I mean,
it'd been a good matchup
for gamers. That's good. It's good because you're a veteran team. You've been together for a long time.
Yeah, right? Yeah. When you're in Visual Concepts, I think the team has been. Everyone there is kind of a lifer. You know, Greg Thomas won the Industry Icon Award.
Yes.
And the one thing that he always says about VC is it's all about family. And which is totally true with Visual Concepts, because the people there, everyone is like, you feel like you're with your brothers, you know, and your sisters. We have a lot more women now, but yeah, just like that's your family. And so we've been together for a long time.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.